fans who traveled to East Lansing this past week. They were great. You could feel their presence in the stadium. And as we get headed into the Big Ten season, I just want to remind all our fans that we do have the best fans in the land, and we are the standard for excellence. And we always handle ourselves in first class, and so excited to see everybody out here on Saturday. And secondly, just want to congratulate Chris Ward, who's going into the College Football Hall of Fame. Going to be celebrating him this weekend, and also 3 former Buckeyes that are going into the Ohio State Athletics Hall of Fame: Jeff Logan, Braxton Miller, and Matt Wilhelm. So excited to celebrate their accomplishments here this weekend as we head into Iowa.
Great. Thank you very much, Coach. Let's open up the press conference over here to the right. Don Taveri, WBNS.
All right, Coach, take a look at Iowa. How much does the competition level go up as you look at them, and how big of a challenge is it?
Yeah, huge challenge. This is a challenge for all of us. This is a very good team. They play physical. You guys know who they are. They have not changed their identity in a long time, and they have very, very good coaches and physical players, a veteran team. So we're going to get challenged in a lot of areas, and this is challenging our whole building. This week, we got to have a great week of practice. They're going to be coming hard. They're physical. They're well coached. They're fundamental, and they have an identity. So we know what a challenge this is going to be this week, and so it starts right here. Well, actually started right after our practice on Sunday, and get in here, watch the film, and then it's going to start here on the practice field. We're going to have a great practice today.
Far right, Jeremy Birmingham, the podcast.
Right, on Saturday, Jordan Hancock was talking post-game about Caleb Down, saying basically he's like a coach on the field. Obviously, a guy who's a sophomore in college, he's played 4 games here. There was a middle part of the game where he was on the sideline. Basically, I could see him coaching up Jordan on the field. How different is it to have a guy that football IQ and that ability combined, and what has he meant to the defense, even though he hasn't had what a lot of people consider splash plays until this last week?
Well, I think for the first couple of games, the game got a little bit lopsided later on, so you just don't, you don't see them playing a full game. But that's here now, and Caleb made some huge plays in that, especially in that middle 8 there. His first off, his preparation is remarkable. Just the amount of work he puts in, and his ability to play really fast certainly is part of his makeup. But when you put preparation in, you know what you're looking at, and you can react faster because you put that much preparation in. That's a sign of a veteran player. He plays that way. He's got great energy. He's a great teammate. He does communicate well, but even late in the game, he's encouraging the younger guys. He knows what it means to pull along other guys, and he's shown that. There's also a certain level of calmness back there when he's back there with Lathan. These guys have played a lot of football. They've seen it. There's no panic. But they're also identifying the things that they got to get fixed.
Is his path to here a reminder for the rest of the coaching staff of what's important in recruiting now and how the game's changed?
Yeah, it certainly has changed, and you never can quite predict what it's going to look like for everybody's journey. But he's somebody that's certainly since he's even been here in a short period of time, made a huge impact on us.
Spencer Holbrook, Letterman Row.
Ryan, how did you assess the 2 right guards that you were playing on Saturday? Do you think that you guys would come to a conclusion on which ones you could be the guy there?
I don't think we're there yet. We'll kind of see how the practice goes. There was nothing on the film that set one ahead or behind. They both graded out similarly. So when that happens, we feel like, if we can, parse out the reps, then that helps both of them play better and stronger in the game. So we'll see how the preparation goes this week and then decide as we get closer to the game.
Cameron Teague Robinson, the Athletic.
Brian, you look at Iowa, obviously really good defense,
Right.
but especially against the run. You look at them up front, what stands out about the way they contain you come in as a set of the field.
Yeah, it doesn't matter, what year you watch them. It's, the same guys inside. They play with great technique. They're well coached. They understand how they fit into the defense. Their pad level's low. Their hands are low. They play physical, like you said. They run to the football. Coach Parker does a great job in making sure they understand how they're being attacked. And so you just look year after year. It's similar in terms of the statistics and the production, and they know what they're recruiting there, and they do a great job. So it's a real challenge for our offense this week, and we got to have a great week of practice.
Dylan Davis, Delaware Gazette.
Ryan, you think Sonny Styles has settled in at linebacker quite at the rate that you thought he would at this point in the season? I know it's still
Yeah, I think he's made that transition pretty rapidly. You know, that's a big move to go from safety to linebacker, and you're seeing a lot of great things there. But you know, anytime you're doing some things for the first time, you're learning as well. But he's learning fast.
And real quick, the last offensive play of the game for you, you weren't too happy with Julian. Was he not supposed to throw the ball there? I guess what happened in that whole thing?
If he was going to throw it there, he better complete it. I can tell you that. But you know, those are the type of things that you can't replicate, even though it's late in the game and the score is what it is. Like, you know, we got to learn. We got to push through those things. You got to put that you know, back in your head and learn from those things. So we were excited to get in that rep and learn from that rep, which I know we will.
Bill Landis, Kings of the North, and the podcast.
Ryan, it seems like every week you guys have kind of layered some kind of change up onto your run game. How do those conversations go with you and Chip and Justin to decide what you're going to pull out a certain week and maybe what you're going to maybe keep on the shelf for something down the road?
Yeah, it's constant. It's going on right now. You know, we're constantly going back and forth and trying to figure out how do you put your players in position to be successful. How do you give them enough that, you know, they're doing what they know well, what our fastball is, but also having some change-ups along the way. And when you're playing against a defense like this, you know, you better line up and play and know what you're doing. So it's that back and forth of trying to figure those things out, and I think that's part of the art of putting a game plan together. But ultimately, it comes down to what our players know and what they can execute, and that's what it comes down to. And you know, a couple of those plays were executed well. But, you know, again, you know, bigger challenge, you know, really stout defense this week. So it's going to come down to our guys, you know, winning their one-on-one battles and executing at a high level.
When you guys run a pretty cool play against Marshall where I think you pulled 3 guys, and then I think you ran the same play against Michigan State, but you used a Mecca instead of a second tight end. When I'm assuming it's Chip that throws that idea, or are you just like, yeah, let's try a Mecca there? Or is any part of you like, I don't want to have a Mecca block on Mike linebacker in the hole?
It sounds like you're sitting in our meetings. Those are all part of the conversation, and there's pluses and minuses to all. But like for a Mecca to do that, make that block on a linebacker, and then come back and pin, you know, the nickel the way he did, and then he was more excited about that. I don't know if you saw him on the field. He was fired up after that play when Jeremiah scoring. You know, so he's 20 feet away blocking a nickel. Jeremiah scoring a touchdown, and he's over here like, you know, just celebrating. I mean, to me, that's winning football. And again, he had some really big plays again in this game, but he does all the dirty work, and that's a sign of a really good player and a really good football team is when guys are willing to do the dirty work, and that's an example of you know, not a lot of you know, wide receivers are going to go in there and stick their nose in there like that. The play wasn't necessarily designed for him to block a linebacker, but you got to clean your thing up on the way up, and that's what he did.
Pat Murphy, 24/7 Sports.
Ryan, the last 2 weeks you guys have allowed the opposing offense to move in the first half, score some points. Second half adjustments seem to be working. How do you balance knowing what you want to know going in and getting those stops in the first half versus, hey, we're doing a good job of figuring it out on the fly and shutting things down?
Yeah, and also like you said, not giving up, you know, X plays and long drives for touchdowns. I mean, that's part of it too as we go into it. I think going into this game, I think in our numbers were like 11-3 or 10-3 in terms of X plays, you know, offense to defense. And when you're doing that, you're gonna win a lot of games. I think the turnover battle was 3-1 in the last game. You're gonna win a lot of games if you do that. So we have to, you know, focus on some of those things, but also, like you said, you know, we want to get stops. We want to, you know, force 3 and outs. So there's a back and forth on that, and constantly talked about. And you know, we're gonna deal with the same thing this week. These guys are you know, made improvements in a lot of, you know, areas on offense, and I think they're playing really well. So again, another challenge for our defense here is these guys come in.
Has the iPad helped that, being able to adjust maybe quicker than a year ago and get to the locker room and talk about a lot of stuff?
It's the same for both sides. So I'm with you, but I think the communication has been good. But you know, they also have the video too, so they're watching film, so they're making adjustments along the way. But yes, I do think for the communication part of it has you know, made that a little bit more streamlined.
Tony Girdman, Buckeye Huddle.
Ryan, I assume you're familiar with PFF.
Yeah.
How do you feel about that being like the front-facing grade for how college football players play in the game?
Yeah, I think it all comes down to, you know, who's actually doing the grading, and if it's accurate, great. But I think it's hard sometimes for them to know exactly what their job responsibility was. That being said, you know, I think generally it's in the ballpark, but I don't know, you know, if somebody who doesn't really know what's expected on a certain play, he's gonna give the same grade as a position coach who knows exactly what's going on. So that's kind of my take on it.
Do you tell your players, don't worry about that, you get the real grades from the coaches, like?
It never really comes up, but honestly, yeah, I mean, it's not something that our guys have quite talked about all that much.
Dan Hope, Lebanon Warriors.
Ryan, you guys switched kickoff returners again for the second game in a row for Mecca. Kind of what went into that decision, and do you expect the Mecca to continue in that role going forward?
We, going into that game, we felt like there was, a chance of, them trying to steal a possession, and Brandon was really good up front. And, Mecca, fielding the kicks back there, we just felt like that was the right personnel. We're gonna try to make the best decisions on a weekly basis based on the personnel of our guys and what we're going up against. And, based on, the way he was kicking the ball anyways, a lot of them were out of the end zone. So, we try to figure all those things in, and the good news is we do have some different options to go with, and, different scheme this week. So, we'll move some more pieces around this week.
Stefan Kreisnik, Cleveland.com.
We saw Wednesday, right before we spoke to you, Aaron Nolan get his black stripe and kind of the reaction that came with that. Why do you think that tradition and those kind of moments are celebrated so much by the players, or even the veteran guys that have had it removed for years now?
Yeah, not to get too much into in particular air, but I think when you see somebody who you say like earn their stripes, and they've taken their black stripe off, that when they really earned it, I think there's a sense of accomplishment there, and I think that was the right time for Air. He's done a really good job. These past couple of weeks of focusing on getting better. That's his focus right now, is just getting better. And everybody has different journeys along the way, and he's got a team that really cares about him, and he's improving every day. And I think to be recognized like that, to see, okay, I've come from a certain place, and I'm not near where I need to be, but I'll earn the respect of my coaches and my teammates, and that's a huge accomplishment. And it was good to see him get a stripe off.
When Josh was talking about it a few weeks ago, he said his first year for Josh Fryer, all he thought about was getting his black stripe removed. I guess how much is that something, an initiative for maybe the younger guys who don't see the field as much, to have something to play for and practice and whatnot?
That's it. Yeah, that's it. What are you working towards every day when you walk in the building? And it's easy when maybe you're not seeing the field very much to get caught into a rhythm of just kind of going through the motions. But these days can be long, but the weeks go real fast, and before you know it, the season will be over, and you gotta have something to show for it. You gotta see some improvement along the way, whoever it might be. And so you gotta maximize every day. And sometimes as a young player, that's not always easy, but we try to find different ways. After Sunday practice, we keep some of the guys out for some extra work, who maybe didn't get work during the game. Today, an inside drill, the threes will get their reps in front of everybody. So. But the scout team looks are very, very important as well, and they're going to be even more and more important as we start getting closer, to the end of the season. So, we got to see improvement, but good to see those guys continuing to get better and having a great attitude when they walk in the building.
Joey Kaufman, Columbus Dispatch.
Ryan, the situations, these are all different, but you went for it on fourth down a handful of times. It was at the 3-yard line, and then your own territory, then the fourth 5 leagues touchdown Mega. But what's your level? What's the thought process in those situations? What's the level of comfort in going forward on all those plays?
Some of it has to do with where we are on the field. In particular, let's say that 4th and 5 play. If we were maybe a little bit further in and had a little bit more of a high percentage field goal, maybe we would have taken the field goal at that point. But I felt like we were right out of that range, and so. There was a timeout, and we came over and decided that we had a good play. That's a big part of it as well. You got to feel like you have a good play that you're going to go to. The 4th and 3 down to the 3-yard line, I felt like at that moment, 7 points was way more important. And even if we didn't get in, the ball's on the 3-yard line, and if we can get a stop there, then we'll get the ball back in midfield. So, every game, based on the score, based on how things are going, you got to take those things into consideration. We do have, analytics that in that moment, I'm getting information on what the chart says and what the statistics say. But, sometimes you got to just, trust your gut, trust your team based on a lot of different scenarios.
On paper, you guys are going for it a little more this year than on fourth down last year. That the analytics part of it, is it having a super senior quarterback and Will just
Yeah, I think it just, has to do with the situations and being aggressive right now and trying to get as many plays as we possibly can in these games. But, we'll look in, each week we'll try to do what's best to win the game. That's the most important thing.
Far left, Jeff Gilbert, Press Pros.
Ryan, progression of Jeremiah in this offense, what do you see him from defenses, realizing this guy is a guy we have to stop, and are they, is there an evolution of they're doing more and more things?
I think that's the tricky part right now is, how much can you do because of all the other things that are going on, and that's the idea of putting stress on the defense. But there's no question that people will know where number 4 is when he's on the field.
Rob Aller, Columbus Dispatch.
Ryan, you said you hold your quarterbacks to an especially high standard. It seems like Will Howard's done everything right, a few mistakes here and there, decisions. To the somewhat untrained eye, it looks like sometimes he locks on to receivers. Is that something that needs to be developed? Do you guys see that? Is that off the mark? And how do you develop that?
I don't know. I haven't recognized that just as something that continues to show up. But I think certainly on the interception, he could have moved on. There's no question about that. Yeah. So that's trusting your drop, trusting your eyes, and making sure your eyes are in the right spot. But there's times where he's found himself back on 3 and 4, and it may not seem like it because his eyes quickly went back to 3-4. And that's a big part of working progressions is, okay, I have 1 and 2 over here, but what are my eyes telling me? If my movement key or whatever my key is for that play tells me I'm working front side, great. If all of a sudden I see something over here that tells me I'm backside, then I'm backside. So the idea of moving on from like 1, 2, 3, 4 really comes down to your eyes, and then based on what the play is. I mean, sometimes it's pick a side. So, I'm working over here versus certain coverage, man or zone, 2 eye, 1 eye, or I'm working over here. And so, based on, what the play asks us to do, sometimes it's throw the ball to him. That happens sometimes. So, there's a lot that goes with it. But to answer your, the short answer is, when we're talking about moving through progressions, it really comes down to your eyes and where you're looking. And that can really get you through the progression a lot faster.
Unrelated, is this schedule about as good as you could have dreamed up in terms of progression, or would you rather see a power team early? I mean, you've kind of built through these 3 teams, and you have Michigan State, and then you have Iowa before Oregon. I mean, it seems pretty set up for you.
I think after the season, you probably will be able to sit back and look at it, evaluate it a little bit more. We're like so in it right now, I think it's hard to tell. But I think it's a legitimate question because I think it is a very different feel than maybe the last couple of years. But it's not changing how we approach it. It's just, like you said, a little bit of a different feel. So probably too early to tell. We'll focus on this game and try to win this game and continue to do that, and then kind of come up for air at the end of the season and figure out where we're at.
Andy Backstrom, Letterman Row.
Yeah, Ryan, it looks like Will Howard's up about 15% in those intermediate throws from last year. Is this what you kind of expected and envisioned with his development in terms of accuracy, and how much does that factor in for that 4th and 5 decision to go for it, comfort level?
Yeah, it's a big. I mean, both of those 4th down throws were both really well thrown against man coverage. Just where only G could catch it and really Mecca could catch it. And those were contested throws that you want to give him those opportunities. I'm sure he's done it before, but it's for us to see him do it here for us is different as well. So. Those are big, and then the protection was huge. The guys up front I thought did a nice job in protection. Travion was big in protection. So those are all challenging plays where you got to stand in the pocket and you got to hang in there and make those throws. So good to see him make those and build some confidence on that.
Deep right, Andy from WBNS.
Ryan, when you look at, you talk about Travion and blocking, you talk about Mecca making that big play. How much have you seen those plays grow with your team? And how much do those build a championship team? Not necessarily the one-time catches,
Right.
the great throws,
Yeah.
but the behind the scenes.
That's it. It's the effort. It's the hard work. It's the dirty work. It's all that stuff. And that's a sign of a good team and a team that's playing hard and playing physical. And Seth McLaughlin finishing a guy into the end zone. And that's the stuff that we constantly watch with our guys on Sundays. the effort plays, and we're gonna need them this Saturday. But that's it, and that's being unselfish. You know, why are you playing so hard for your teammates? And we got to keep building on that, and that's got to be a huge part of our identity this season. Has been so far. I mean, it's on the film, but we got to keep getting better at it. We need everybody to do it.
It's actually Adam King from WBNS, Austin Warren, podcast.
Right, I think we've latched on to fourth downs, but do you feel overall, even including Sunday to Friday, that do you feel like you're coaching more aggressively than you have in the last couple of years? I know that might be difficult to answer,
Yeah.
maybe not fair, I just wonder
Yeah.
if you feel that at all.
I think with this team and just in my role, you know, you can target things a little bit better. You can be on things a little bit better. You can, you know, give more thought to, you know, how you're addressing the team, you know, how you're addressing the coaches, you know, the overall approach, you know, focusing on what really matters, which is like how hard you play and your fundamentals and the big picture things. So, you know, whatever it is, you know, but it's also this team. I love this team. I love the way they play, you know, so like every day when I wake up, I put 2 feet in the ground to try to, you know, do everything I can to help this team, you know, reach their dreams and goals, because these kids are unbelievable, and they're giving everything they possibly have, and we got to keep pushing them as coaches, and that's our job. And, you know, it's their job to take the coaching and continue the great chemistry we have and great effort. So we got to put a great game plan together, give it to the players, and then have a great week of practice. But yeah, I mean, we're all coaching aggressively.
Stephen Means, Cleveland.com.
First of all, you make a quarterback going through progression sound like it's the easiest thing in the world, as if it's not like chaos going on back there. But kind of to follow up on some of the blocking stuff you've been asked today, sometimes when people bring up toughness, I think people just dumb it down to just, oh, can you push that guy further than
Right.
he pushes you? And there's a
Right.
lot more to that. And when you've been having those conversations over the last couple of years and trying to get that through to your team, how much of it is just simply the execution of a play? Because it seems like whether it's the wide receivers or the offensive linemen or even the tight ends or even what Travion's doing, there's been a bigger focus on executing, and now you're seeing that happen on Saturdays.
Well, it's got to continue. Let me go back to the first thing. I think it's every coach's job to make things that maybe aren't simple. They're not easy, but you got to make them simple as coaches. You know, it's 1 to 2, it's A to B, and it's not always that easy, but like it's simple, and that allows players to play fast and with discernment. So I think whether it's a quarterback or anybody else, like that's really important as coaches. We can't have these guys thinking too much. We got to put them in drills, got to put them in teamwork during the week, and keep it simple for them. You know, and let them play, let them use their athletic ability. But no, I just think, you know, the effort's been good so far. You know, we're practicing that way on Tuesdays and Wednesdays in particular, and so, you know, it's showing up, you know, during the game, and but we got to keep pushing. We got to keep pushing. We got a long way to go this season.
And it seems through the first 4 games, you guys have made an emphasis of getting as many guys snaps as possible. You've even said as much. As you move into maybe this middle part of the schedule, how do you balance that, trying to still build depth at them positions, but also whether it's right guard, whether it's linebacker, maybe narrowing some things down and focusing on who your best guys are now that you're in this part of the schedule?
Yeah, we got to win. We got to win this game. This is going to take everything we got to win this game. So we're gonna, in this game right here, we're going to put the best players in there to win the game. Period. And that's it. And that's the focus right now.
Bill Rabinowitz, Columbus Dispatch.
Another question about Iowa's defense. You're right, I mean, I think everyone knows, you think of Iowa, you think of their defense.
Yep.
Norm Parker, they've done the same thing. You know, they're not getting 4 and 5 star guys generally. It's a developmental program.
Right.
What is it about that defense that makes it so hard? Is it just they make you earn everything?
Yeah, and they know what they're developing, and they're you know, typically veteran players who have played a lot of football before. They're usually not 18, 19, 20. They're usually older guys. They have some young players in there, but they usually have guys that have matured, and they're physically mature and mentally mature and emotionally mature, and they understand the defense. And this is a great example of a defense coordinator who keeps it simple. Not easy, but it's simple. I mean, it's you know, they know how they're going to get attacked, and so they work those things, and so, you know, they know what their weaknesses are, they know what their strengths are, they know how to protect certain things, and that's, you know, when you have continuity over a certain amount of time with the staff that he has and the way that they do it, and playing complementary football, understanding how you fit in with the offense, defense, special team, that's what you got.
2 quickies there. Could you imagine coaching in your 26th year in one place?
No.
And is it fun for you as a coach, as an X's and O's guy, to go against a defense like this?
yeah, it's a challenge, but it's gonna come down to the players, so we've gotta do a good job of keeping it simple and letting them play. That's it, you know, if you start to get into a situation where you're gonna out-scheme somebody, it's not gonna go well against these guys. So we gotta keep it simple, we gotta let them play, give them an advantage, in terms of, putting them in the situation to be successful, but, to say we're gonna out-scheme Iowa, that's not gonna happen. You gotta play harder.
And, final questions, Tim May, Letterman Row.
Thanks, Jerry. Going back to a little bit of what Austin was asking you and a little bit of what Bill Landis, I know they're connected, but, number one, do you think you've thrown enough variety out there the first part of the season for when y'all line up in a 4th and 5, the defense really doesn't have a real grip on what you're about to do? And then number two, when you turn a 4th and 5 or whatever it was into a touchdown, does it feel like instead of throwing a punch, you're throwing a haymaker? You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think we're always trying to do that. We're trying to make sure that we can't get narrowed in on what we're doing, and that's by design. But yeah, I mean, there's certain plays in a game, those game-altering plays that you gotta make, and we made those plays the other night. That's just the truth. I don't think we always played great the other night, but we made the game-altering plays. We forced 2 fumbles down the red area, the 4th downs we converted on. That goes the other way, it's a different game. That's just the truth, and so. The issues are always there. We got to identify what the issues are and get them addressed and get them fixed and keep growing on those things. But you're right. I mean, those plays are the ones that have to be made in a game. We all know how important some of those are. They'll swing an entire game. So, I think identifying that is appropriate.
And one of the quickie, just to follow, do you guys as a staff, I thought staffs used to go over with officials in pregame somewhere what formations you might throw out there that might catch your eye and go, and it looks like a couple of times the last couple of weeks, y'all have run kind of the same kind of thing, but the official didn't recognize it. The flag was picked up eventually, but do y'all still do those things?
We do, yeah. We have after the 100-minute meeting, they come in and we just go over different things, things maybe that, are a little bit different formation-wise, so it doesn't catch them off guard and any concerns that we may have.
Thanks, man.
Coach, thank you very much.